You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P. Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Calgary Stampeders CFL football player Luker Hakunavanhu. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in playing in professional football?
I mean, for me, a lot of it was actually a bet between one of my friends, where we wanted him to play basketball with us, and then he was a football player, so we kind of just said, if we play basketball with you, or sorry, if you play basketball with us, we'll play football with you, and that's kind of how that whole thing started. Mind you, I was familiar with the sport, I just didn't play, but yeah, so that's how that kind of all started, honestly.
Of course, what was that experience like going to York Lions and getting to play collegiate football?
It was a lot for me. I would say the biggest thing for me was just again learning the game at a different level, and I also just like I felt like I had to catch up a lot of the times just because I started late. So that was a big thing for me. But honestly, it was a great experience. Met a lot of friends that are still friends of mine until this day, you know what I mean? And then just on top of that, I know it's York and people, you know what I mean, make fun of the school because we didn't win too many games, but I mean that's just part of the growth and honestly I would say help my mentality as well. Being the underdog and always, you know what I mean, having something to prove. So I would I had a great time.
While as a York Lion, what was that like getting to put on that uniform and representing them?
It was great. I mean, like having the opportunity to have your name on the back of a jersey in general. And then obviously the name in front of the jersey as well. It's just like um going out there and representing yourself and your friends and family and your teammates as well is just one thing that, you know what I mean, you always take pride in. So just wearing that jersey in general is just um, you know what I mean, going out there and playing a game that you love with your teammates, it's just always a great moment.
While in college, what were some of your biggest accomplishments on the playing field?
Biggest accomplishments, I would say I don't think I hit too many of the accomplishments that I had for myself going in. Um, Mind you, like some of them were being, you know, all Canadian or getting a Vanier or a ring, and we didn't really get to do that. But I would say from um, personal growth aspect, I would say that was one of my biggest accomplishments that I got, just getting better each year and seeing that improvement and getting to the point where um, I was able to get drafted and put myself in a position to succeed in that sense. So I would say that that was probably my greatest accomplishment there.
Coming out of college, what was that experience like for you going into the CFL? And what was that training like preparing for professional football?
So for me, because my draft year was the COVID year. I was coming off a year off, so we didn't have a season that year. So I pretty much had the whole entire year to train before the combine. And on top of that, I still had a little extra time because the CFL season started late. And honestly, I would say that played a very big part in my growth as an athlete. And coming into camp physically, I felt I could really play with a lot of the guys that were there, honestly, because of that and just the leaps we had taken with that training. It was just more so the mental side of the game where it moved very quickly for me at the time too, where it's just it's I'm playing a new position, you know what I mean? I've new responsibilities that I never really had in university. And again, not having to play that last year of university ball definitely hindered my ability, I guess, in that sense, to get comfortable in some of those situations. But overall, I mean, I remember talking to my trainer, like, you know, what I mean, I don't think there's too much of a difference between some of the guys here and myself, and from a physical perspective, at least, yeah. So I think that was very monumental for myself.
Of course, for you, what was that feeling like getting drafted into the CFL and getting drafted by Calgary?
It was unreal. I mean, I spent some time living in Edmonton, so and on top of that, going into the draft, like I wasn't really expecting Calgary to draft me. I think at the time I thought I was for sure ending up either in Hamilton or oddly enough in Hamilton or Ottawa. So I didn't think too much that I was on Calgary's radar. So it was actually very crazy to think that they picked me and I was going to be very close to home and my parents. So it was very unreal, and I would say also just like a big weight was taken off my shoulders in the sense that, you know, I mean, I got the opportunity and we were in the right direction of where I wanted to be as an athlete. So it was an unreal moment for sure.
Of course, as you talked about that, what was that feeling like getting to be close to home where your parents and family could still get to see you play professional football?
It was great. I mean, just being able to be in, you know, proximity. I mean, always like having friends and family at sporting events or even just growing up with that support is always unreal. So just being able to be close to home and, you know, I mean, a 3 hour drive away for my parents, and also knowing that we'll have um, numerous games in Edmonton because we're out west was huge for me. So, um, and at any point we have, you know what I mean, weeks off or days off or whatever it may be, by weeks. Like it was so much easier for me to go home in that sense. So, no, it was definitely big. It was. I remember my parents being so happy, and um, even just myself as well, just being closer to. I have small little siblings, and you know what I mean. So it's a great opportunity, not just for me to play in front of them and for them to see me as well. So
After being drafted and signed, what was that feeling like getting to put on that Calgary Stampers uniform for the first time?
it was great. I mean, like a lot of times you envision something for yourself, and it's you don't take that moment in sometimes. You know what I mean? So like I remember first couple games. I believe my first year I didn't play Labor Day. I think it was. Or I can't remember. I think it was one of our first home games, and I'm in there, and you know what I mean. The stadium's packed, and I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, just to even think like at some point, uh, I'm going to be able to play in this stadium, and you know what I mean. Hear these fans in general. It was just a surreal moment to just take in. Um, so yeah, no, it was even to this day. Like I still remember that pretty vividly, and it's just an amazing feeling for sure.
For you as a football player, what was that feeling like the first time you put on your college uniform for York Lions and your first time putting on the Calgary Stampers uniform?
I would say I mean, not to take away anything, of course. The Stampeders putting that uniform on was definitely the bigger moment in that senses because um, that, you know what I mean, like you performing at such a top tier, I guess, league in that sense of college and CFL. It just means a lot, and all the hard work that you put in to even get to that point, and you know, what I mean, you get a chance to kind of showcase where what you're good at and how you got there is just an unreal moment. So just having that moment of, you know what I mean, putting that jersey on and seeing your name on the back of it, it's just unreal. And you know what I mean, some people like me and younger kids like dream about that moment. So it was definitely unreal.
What was that feeling like getting to see your name on the back of it and knowing that all of your hard work paid off?
It was dope. I mean, again, same thing. Like I came into camp, and I remember just looking at my locker and taking pictures immediately and sending them to my parents and some of my friends. Like, yo, this is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Who would ever thought? You know what I mean? Like, this is where, one, it would have happened this quickly, and two, just like that it's really here now. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a moment I'm not gonna forget, and then I still cherish to this day, just from a regular day-to-day basis, even before game days, where it's just like, you know what I mean? Not a lot of people get the opportunity and chance to do this, so it's unreal that I still have a chance, and I still, you know, I'm privileged enough to still see my name on the back of a jersey. So
How's it got like getting to live out your dream of being a professional football player in the CFL?
it's incredible. I mean, I personally think it's part of the journey. Obviously, bigger aspirations in terms of trying to get to the NFL, but I mean, at the same time too, you still got to live in the moment and enjoy the success. I wouldn't say small wins, but also small wins in that sense of how far you made it, and the opportunities that present itself. Because again, there's people out there that um, would love to be where I'm at, and they didn't get an opportunity, or um, they, you know what I mean, their time was cut short just because of injuries. So it's definitely an unreal feeling, and I'm very grateful for it, just to still be able to put on that jersey and play. So I can't say that enough.
What are some of the biggest similarities and differences between the CFL and the NFL? And for my listeners that don't know, what is the CFL?
Some of the differences, I would say the field size, obviously, and the big one that people talk about, the 4 downs and 3 downs. Um, but the ball size as well is another one. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know what I mean, some of those differences are make what are make are what make the game so different and similar at the same time. Where it's, you know what I mean, we have a waggle out here where we can move around as receivers freely before, you know, the ball snapped, and they don't really have the same luxury out there, which, you know what I mean, is what little things that make the game so different. Um, but at the same time, it's also the same game we've all been playing growing up. So, and then the CFL is just, you know what I mean, the Canadian Football League, nothing better out there. For those who don't know, it's, you know what I mean, it's a game that anything can happen in. It's very entertaining. It goes down to the last wire, you know what I mean? So it's just like, um, if you ain't into it, you better get into it, because you definitely missing out.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a Calgary Stampers?
For me personally, I would say usually I wake up. Um, I mean, if it's a home game is a little different than a away game. Home games, I usually wake up around 10, depending what time the game is and how much time we have before the game starts. Go get some breakfast, usually at OEB. Um, and if we're away, I'll probably just find me a little coffee shop or something, kind of go over my script for the game and my plays, just to make sure I'm mentally ready. Um, just take that time to, you know what I mean, focus, and make sure I won't make any mistakes, and anything I need to shore up on, I get over. And then pretty much from there, go to the stadium. I'm usually a little on the earlier side. Um, do what I need to do in terms of therapy, or just get in tubs and loosen up. Get into meetings. And then after meetings, it's pretty much, I like to take a lap around the field and just kind of visualize, you know what I mean, plays, and me making plays myself, and play calls, and what that would look like for me on the field. And then pretty much get back in there, strap up, go get some warm up, and then get ready for the game.
Of course, at Calgary, what is that home game atmosphere like when playing at home?
It was great. I remember, even just like, again, like one of the games that I talk about the most is the Labor Day game, where it's, you know what I mean, the jets are flying over, the crowd's packed with your fans and other teams' fans, and you know what I mean, you hear cheers, and it's an unreal moment. You got to take it in and just be like, you know what I mean, this is what you train and practice for, and you dreamed about as a kid, and it's it gets you hyped and juiced up to ready to go out there. And it's like that ball gets kicked, and everything kind of just goes blank for a little bit. And you're so locked in that you kind of have to remind yourself that, yeah, I mean, this is real. And to take it all in. So
Of course, for you, what was that feeling like the first time you got to start in a game in September the 17th of 2021 against Hamilton?
that was unreal. Again, for me to want to play so bad, and then it happened to be a game where pretty much back close to home in terms of school. Like I played at York University in Ontario, so just having the opportunity for all my friends and teammates to be at that game, my trainers, was unreal. And even then, just having the game that I had and being able to do that in front of my people was just something I definitely will never forget. And just crazy how things turned out.
What was that feeling like the first time you got a touchdown against BC Lions?
That was it was great. It was I think one of those moments where you know what I mean, you want something so bad, and I heard the play call and I'm like, yeah, I know that's, you know what I mean, it's an opportunity for me and just go out there and win. And then, you know what I mean, you get in there, I run my route and I see the ball thrown and I'm just like, this is it. Um and just to one get over that hump, because I think because again, I got tackled on the 1 yard line in Hamilton, and that was my opportunity to kind of just get that first touchdown. It was also good to kind of get that out of the way and get an opportunity to get in the end zone. So yeah, no, it was an unreal moment. Um, it's crazy to think that, you know what I mean. Sometimes you fall on the 1 yard line just so you can get another opportunity, you know.
Of course, what is that like getting to play with teams like the Toronto Argonauts, Hamilton, even Cal Ontario, and other teams?
It's great. I mean, you know what I mean? There's different, every team's different in terms of how they scheme and the competitors and team guys they have on the team. So it's always interesting when you go into games and um, you know what I mean, kind of just understanding the matchups and who you're going against, and just for the competitive nature that we all have as athletes, it's always fun to, you know what I mean, um, have that opportunity to compete against other great players. So, um, and these are teams that have done, you know what I mean, great things over many years. So it's just like getting an opportunity to play against these teams and some of these players too that, you know what I mean, been everywhere in leagues in terms of NFL and even just CFL experience. Like it's definitely humbling, and at the same time just an exciting time to just get those matchups and you know what I mean, showcase what you can do against some of these teams. So
Of course, as you talked about playing with like players that have played in the NFL, what has that experience been like getting to learn from those players that have had that professional playing experience in other leagues like the NFL?
I think a lot of it is been eye opening for me. I think you know what I mean, as growing up in Canada and playing the game out here, I think we also have sometimes false narrative of what the NFL is, and you know what I mean, some of the major differences that we think um, are so different in the two games. And I think sometimes we also sell ourselves short as Canadians sometimes, you know what I mean? Um, just because we play over here. Because then just talking to, you know what I mean, some of the guys that come out from, you know what I mean, teams that have played in the NFL or played in the Div 1 schools, the big schools, it's like, you know what I mean? We are all different in our abilities, but at the same time, like these are guys that are like, you could play out there as well. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it's just a mentality thing. So I mean, I've learned a lot, and I like to ask questions, especially guys that have been there and done that, because you know what I mean, that's somewhere I'm trying to go. So anything I can do to learn from those guys' experiences and from, you know what I mean, what they have learned from their experience, that could help me out or help me be prepared for when the time comes, then yeah, I mean, that's how really I look at it.
What is it like getting to play with some of your teammates on Calgary, like Trey Duke, like Peyton, like Cole, and even like Tucker?
It's been great. I mean, those are my dogs right there. Like, again, coming into camp, you don't really know anybody and new faces. Obviously, the team changes year to year, but in there, you also, make new friends, make new, I guess, family in that sense is in the long runs of things because um, these are guys that you go and put everything on the line with, and you trust that they do their job just as they trust that you do your job, and we are similar in the terms of like how a lot of things we've sacrificed and all the hard work we put into to get where we're at. And it's so no, like those guys and many more on that team in general are just like, family, and I'm very happy like I met some of those guys because if it wasn't for that game, who knows? Like I'd never really have some of those people in my life. So those guys, I'm very guys like that I'm happy to have met and have in my corner in just a life in general.
Of course, being a wide receiver, what has it been like having quarterbacks like Tommy Stevens get to throw to you?
It's been great. Like I said, just having the opportunity to play with some of these guys and names that people hear, um, and we watched as well. Some of us growing up in these schools, like it's crazy because I remember one of the other things, like I remember when Sean Bain first came to Calgary, my little brother was texting me like, "Hey, do you know who that is? Like, is that really Sean Bain? And he played with Julio? Like, that's crazy. Like, what is he like?" And it's just like, that same excitement they have from our side of it too. It's we look at it from that side of things too. So it's great to be playing with some of these great players and the careers that they have. So um, just try to learn from everything they've done before.
Of course, who are some people that you implement your game after?
Me personally, I would have to say big one for me. And is that asking? I guess for me it was Calvin Johnson's a big one for me. Big 81 kind of, that's where I watched a lot of him growing up, and just watching the type of athlete he was and how he was so dominant in the game. That's definitely one. And then I would say Julio and um, Larry Fitzgerald. I'd say those three for sure were guys that I definitely watched a lot, and definitely wanted to take parts of their game and put into mine in terms of just how reliable and like the playmakers that they were, and just the attitude that they had to the game, and who they were as people. Um, I think a lot of it, that's what I took from them, and just try to model my game after those guys because they're the greatest at what they're doing, and I want to get to that point. So
Who are some of the most influential people in your career that have shaped you into the person you are today?
my parents for sure, and then my trainer Kamal Peterson, coach, and then just some of the teammates that I have, and honestly, for me, a lot of it is also just the people that support me and are in my corner, just to tell me that like they're proud of me, and I think that's what's got me where I'm at. Just being able to have those people in my corner, and know that there's people out there cheering for me, and are just proud of how far I came, and it's not that they need anything or anything like that. It's just they're just happy to see the process, and um, and they're also the first to tell me when if I got to change things and I got to fix up. So that's definitely, it means a lot to me, and has got me where I am. So
What's it like getting to meet your fans and having them ask for your autographs and photos with you?
it's crazy, I never really look at myself as the type of person to be a role model in the senses of people look up to me. I've always looked at myself as like I'm one of them, and don't get me wrong, I definitely do get the position I'm in, and it's even crazier for me when little kids come up to me like, "Oh my God, like you're my favorite player," and it's like sometimes you never really think of situations where it's like that's where I would be, So it's been great, honestly. I've been unreal, and it's definitely things I don't take for granted. And anytime I get the chance to meet fans in general or people that support me and the team, um, I'm more than willing to take that extra step just because, one, it wouldn't be where I'm at, and it wouldn't be sports without them as well. So
Of course, what is it like getting to see those fans represent you and wearing your jersey and representing the Calgary?
it's been crazy. The biggest thing for me, I can't remember what game it was. I remember looking in the stands. I wasn't even particularly looking for anybody or anything at that point, and I saw somebody wearing the 81, and I was like, "Yo, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't really been playing that much, and somebody already has a jersey of mine. Like, this is unreal." You know what I mean? And it just motivates me more to want to see, more 81s in the crowd and just be live up to that hype and perform to what I know I can perform to. So, no, it's been unreal, honestly, all of it. Um, Very humbling experience as well. So it's just been an unreal experience.
What have been some of your favorite memories and moments throughout your career?
Obviously the draft, we'll throw that in there. Been an unreal experience. And I'll probably say for me, the first catch for sure in Hamilton was a big moment. I remember not even hearing the crowd at all, just because of how big the moment was and how focused I was. I'll say the Labor Day catch against Edmonton. I believe that was year two. And then honestly, just first playoffs as well. I think the atmosphere in Saskatchewan was unreal, and just being able to experience that for the first time as well, and that type of the game and preparation going into the game, and just having that rivalry and just how intense everything was unreal moment that I'll forever cherish for sure.
For you, what was that experience like getting to play in that playoffs?
It was bittersweet. Coming from playing at York and just in general, my football career, even in Edmonton Wildcats, we were always the underdogs and the teams that were developing and trying to figure it out. So not really getting a chance to get to playoffs. It was definitely a new experience for me, and just being in that moment, and again, like how we got in there and the crowd was so loud and just people are heckling you, people are cheering at the same time, and it's just you're trying to figure out, and stay locked into the game, but at the same time you're so excited. It's been unreal, honestly, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
What would you tell your younger self now looking back on your career thus far?
Honestly, probably start earlier. Tell myself to start earlier. But I think everything happened the way it's supposed to happen. The biggest thing I would say, just keep trusting yourself, and you know who you can be, and what you have in you. Just keep trusting yourself and have fun out there. Because I think sometimes me tend to start thinking too much and kind of get out of the moment. But yeah, not just have fun and keep going from there.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to play college football?
I would say the biggest thing for me is, make the decision of what you want to do in life. That being football, just understand that, there's going to be things you're going to have to sacrifice in general. One of my favorite quotes was, um, if you don't sacrifice for what you want will be your sacrifice. So you got to understand that, you got a goal in mind and places you want to be, and whether that be, college football or CFL or NFL, sometimes you're gonna have to make sacrifices, and that's just part of the process. And it's okay to not, do certain things just because you're chasing a dream and goal, and just make up your mind if that's what you want, and honestly, just go get it. Just do whatever you got to do to go get it.
What advice would you give those college football players out there that are searching to play professional football and deciding whether to play in the NFL or other leagues like the CFL?
I would say, you know what I mean? Same kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? Just know what you want, your end goal and where you want to be, and go out and get it. And honestly, just any opportunity you can to get better and be intentful. You know what I mean? I think there's sometimes where we get complacent as athletes and we kind of go through the motions and try not to let that happen and just be intentful and go out there with a goal in mind, even if it's, you know what I mean, one thing you're working on or two things you're working on in the day, and just go from there. And, you know what I mean, just be, as cliche as it is, get that 1% better every day.
What advice would you give those rookies entering their first year of CFL football?
Don't be so hard on yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. I do understand, you know what I mean? Obviously, some people don't get too many opportunities, and at the same time, like it's a very performance-based industry in terms of sports in general. But I think like a lot of people dwell on mistakes, which I did myself at times. You know what I mean? Where you run the wrong route or you make a mistake, whether it be in practice or games, where it's like you can't really sit there and ponder about I did this and let it affect everything else. You know what I mean? Like even the great ones make mistakes too. It's how you bounce back and operate after, you know what I mean, all of that really shapes who you are. So it's just a lot of it, you know what I mean? Yeah, like be hard on yourself and have a standard for yourself for sure. But you know what I mean, don't sit there and dwell on things that won't help you or the team in that sense.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Social media, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram as prime 2_81. Those are probably the two ones I use the most. So that's where they can find me at.
Thank you again, Luther, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at Calgary in the CFL.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me on the show, honestly.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Appreciate you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.